Hello guys, today I come back with a spoiler-free review of Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, which is really pretty, as you can see. This is the normal, I think it's the normal American edition, but I know you might have seen really cool UK edition, and I would actually like to know if some of you have it, and like to know what they have special. This blend of fur is my cat that has just decided that there's activity and therefore he should take part in it. Lady Midnight is the first installment of the trilogy of the Dark Artifices, which is itself part of the Shadowhunter Chronicles. So Shadowhunter Chronicles basically gathers all the books that are written by Cassandra Clare about the Shadowhunter world. And those are the Dark Artifices, which is Lady Midnight, and it's the most recent one. So Mortal Instruments, that is a 6-book series that I really love and that is probably the most well known. And also the Infernal Devices. I'm actually rereading them and they are really beautiful, which is set in the past and which deals with ancestors of the Mortal Instruments. Other series will be released as it comes. I think we have The Last Hours and The Wicked Powers coming up. You also have the Shadowhunter Tales of the Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy? Yes, that's right. That deals with one of the main characters of the Mortal Instrument. And the Bane Chronicles, since Magnus Bane is the common denominator of... Is this a word in English? Common denominator? Well, he's the character that you can find in all the books of the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Lady Midnight was released last month and is basically deals with the aftermath of the war that takes place in the Mortal Instruments. For this reason, I would strongly recommend to have read the other books before. Technically, you don't have to. You can understand the story perfectly fine without having read the other books. It's very well explained and it's quite definite from the other books, even though you do see characters that were in the previous trilogies and previous series in itself. You do see characters from the previous series and the previous books. Technically, you don't have to, like it's what Cassandra Clare says, but I would strongly recommend to read all the other books before. At least the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices. What would be my recommendation would be to read them in order of publication. It can be actually really quite annoying because the Infernal Devices started after the Mortal Instruments and the last book was released before City of Heavenly Fire, the last book of the Mortal Instruments. So it would be a lot of crisscrossing, but it's actually the best way to read it like a normal reader that has started from the beginning would have, and for you to maybe get all the links without getting spoiled at all, because they were written to be read in that sort of order. And I think that might be the best possibility for you to catch up if you haven't read them. If you haven't read them and you love fantasy and you like romance and adventures and magic, I would strongly recommend it. Basic premise is that you have Emma and Julian, their Parvati, which is basically brother and sister in arm, even though it's a bit deeper than that. And they live at the Los Angeles Institute and they are shadow hunters, so they kill demons. And there's been a war in the past that has taken away their sister Helen and their brother Mark, because, well, it's complicated, you'd have to read the book, but they can't be with them. So they end up taking care of the whole family of brothers and sisters of Julian's, and at some point in the book there starts to be a series of murders, and so the book is a bit of a crime mystery investigation. The first book, at least, you find who is doing those murders and why, and of course it's magic murders. And it is especially interesting because it is linked to Emma's family history. So that's the basic premise, what you have to know before getting into the book. The book is really strong and powerful, and I was actually wasn't expecting to love it so much because I have loved all the other books very deeply before, and I was kind of worried because it's quite a change of pace, and I think this book is more mature than the other ones. The Infernal Devices was already a bit more mature than the Mortal Instruments, but this one really grows. The characters are really grown up and they are taking I think they're going toward a darker path than the others in the previous books, even though everybody may not agree with that. I really love the characters. You will find a lot of diversity and representation. You have a child that is probably autistic. It's not said because the Shadowhunters don't have a word for this, but he is autistic. And you have his Hispanic and other minorities playing in the characters, and that's really cool. It's also really great because you have a big cast of characters also, I think, so there's generally a way for you to find one character that you will relate to the most, and I think that's really great that you can do that. The story is really intriguing and really interesting, and there are several subplots, and at the end it all comes together, and that's what I think I love the most about Cassandra Clare's books, is because you're never bored and there's always something going on and something new that is coming up. The writing is really fluid and really poetic, and it's quite easy to read. It's quite a thick book, if I'm being honest. It's thicker than the other books. I think it's about 700 pages. Yeah, that's it, about 700 pages. So it is quite a commitment, but I think it's really worth it. And this book sets at the beginning of the trilogy, and you can really see things coming together, and that's what I love the most about the books in itself, because it's one big long story, and everything is linked together. The mortal instruments, the dark artifices, the infernal devices, they all come together, and as a reader that has read all the other books, what I like the most is seeing little, you know, like little references that only people that have read and really well known the other books will catch. And that's really cool. If you have read the other books, I am almost like 98% sure you will love this one. If you have loved all the other Cassandra Clare books, I do not see how you cannot love this one, because it's even better than what she did before. It's more mature, it's more grown up, so there's a bit less of the cheesiness that personally gets on my nerves a bit in the Mortal Instruments. Even less so in the Infernal Devices, but still. And it is really it's really different from what we've seen before, and that's what kind of scares me generally when she starts a new series, that I'm scared that we're gonna go back into the same patterns all the time, and I do not find this true in this one. And I actually really love that we get to know more about Parabatais, because it's a big part of the Shadowhunter world that we haven't always treated deeply. Even though they're always here and we learn a lot about them, it's the first time that the main character has a Parabatai and that we get to see what it's like. And you alternate through different POVs, which is also good, and which makes, I think, the reading even more fluid and interesting. So as a general point, I would say that there are very little flaws, and telling you the flaws would be spoiling, so I won't tell you, but nothing big. I can't say I regret reading it, and I certainly can't say I wouldn't recommend it. If I had to give it a rate, it would probably 5 stars out of 5, because I really loved it, and there are very few things I want to criticize about this. I hope you'll love it just as much, and tell me about it if you do read it. And if you do read it and you love it, tell me. If you do read it and you don't love it, tell me also, so we can talk about it and I can see your opinion and get to know a bit better what you're looking for. And if you don't want to read it, well, I'm sorry, but I hope that you will try to pick up one Cassandra Clare book at some point, because they are really quite great. Thank you so much. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you very soon for a spoiler-free video.